So first, I gently approached them in person. I did not push very hard at all. I just said, here's two concerns that I have. And after that, Elizabeth set me up with these conversations with the vice president. But after I was not satisfied by the vice president, I felt like I need to have another conversation with Elizabeth to make sure that my concerns are heard and that they're addressed. And at that point, she started ignoring me. Not ignoring me, really. She was putting me off. She would say, I'm too busy to meet with you, which was very unusual for her. Because like I said, by that time, she was becoming like part of my family. And I even offered to meet with her late at night because I worked the night shift and she worked very late. And I said, I could meet you, after regular business hours, after the craziness of the day has died down. And she just said she was too busy and that I should put all my concerns in an email and she would address them. And that turned out to be an absolutely wonderful thing because not all of my concerns, but a lot of my concerns were clearly documented in this email at the time. And what I did was I just would lay out, this is an observation that I've made. Here's data that I've collected to support that observation. And this is what I think we should do about it. Because I didn't want to approach her and say, this is a total fraud. This is never going to work. I wanted to come to her from the perspective of I am a team member to you. Like we are working on this together. I want to find solutions. And in fact, I even concluded that email by saying, I apologize if this sounds attacking in any way. It is truly not meant to be. I'm dedicated to the long-term vision of this company, but I'm worried that some of our current practices are going to prevent us from reaching our long-term goals. Like I wanted to make it clear, I'm on your team here.
Right. Yeah.
And she did not provide much of a response to that email, but she forwarded it to Sunny, who again was the president, COO, board member, investor, and boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And his reply was longer than mine. It was in all red, a lot of it all capitalized, a lot of it all bolded. And he essentially said that I was arrogant, ignorant, patronizing, reckless. I had no understanding of basic math, science, or statistics. And that if I had any other last name, that I would have already been held accountable in the strongest way.
Oh, shit.
Blistering attack.
Wow. But,
yes.
Well, it's a little weird that Elizabeth said put it in an email. She's super paranoid, but she wants all this in writing. That's a weird contradiction.
Yeah, I think she looks back on that and probably
regrets
thinks
it a lot.
That was a really big mistake.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a weird one. When you've been running a paranoid shop for 11 years at that point, that's a weird little misstep by her.
It is a weird misstep, isn't it, Carolyn? Very odd.
Yeah.
But this is a pivotal point, though, Tyler. You get the blistering attack from Sunny.
So as part of that blistering email, he gave me an M&M analogy because part of my discussions with the vice president got I would say way too into the weeds to the point where we were arguing about how to calculate an average. Wow. The details of that discussion don't really matter. But as part of Sunny's blistering email, he said, how are you so dumb that you don't understand what we're doing here? It's like we're trying to count M&Ms, and instead of having one person count them, we have 6 people count them, and then we take an average. He thought that's the thing that I didn't understand. So in my initial response, I was so angered by his patronizing tone back to me that my initial draft of my resignation email was, I understand how to count M&Ms. My point is that I would rather have one adult count the M&Ms than 6 4-year-olds.
Savage.
Oh my God.
Which is really the crux of the argument that I was having with the vice president earlier.
Right.
Wow.
It's I don't care what statistical methods you can apply. If the data is this terrible, the results are just going to be terrible.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I thought that was not going to be very productive. So I deleted it. I typed it out, gotten it out of my system, deleted it. And I just wrote, consider this my 2 weeks notice. If you prefer I leave earlier, that's fine with me as well.
Giving 2 weeks in that circumstance is very generous.
He's an upstanding guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to not ruffle feathers as much as I possibly could, even though I was obviously ruffling feathers.
And just to clarify, you had not spoken to your grandfather at this point, right?
So actually, I had spoken to him. I actually brought a lot of data and analysis to his house and kind of went through it with him. And it was clear that he didn't really understand what I was talking about. A good example is I showed him a plot of our vitamin D validation, where there's a line that goes horizontally through the graph that shows the correct result. It's, 10 nanogram per milliliter or whatever it is. And then there is the plot of every time we tested that sample on top of the line. And if you have a good test, it's right on the line.
Yeah.
Our test just looked like a total hodgepodge of like throw darts at a wall. And he looked at it and said, well, it looks like most of those dots are way above the line. So that looks pretty good to me. And he just like, I tried to describe to him what these graphs were supposed to mean. And he clearly did not understand. And his response was just, you need to go sort out these questions with Elizabeth.
Did you ever say to him, like, okay, forget the science for a minute. It's a really weird environment there. Like there's locked doors, there's, paranoia, there's churn. Like, did you ever talk to him sort of about the big picture stuff?
Yeah, I did. And he already knew that. Like he knew that I wasn't sharing details about what my job was with him, even though he was a board member. And he would almost use that as almost like a joke and in a positive way. He was like, oh, Theranos is so secretive and takes their trade secrets, so seriously that my own grandson won't tell me about what he's working on. It's like he's working at the CIA. And it just kind of became this almost like a fun bit. And so he knew, but he did view it as a positive, and he had bought into the same excuses that Elizabeth had originally sold me on.
Yeah.
He just was, I want to say he was kind of brainwashed at this point.
Totally. Yeah, and that actually goes back to the whole gaslighting thing that we had talked about. I can't remember which documentary it was, but my wife and I watched a documentary about a cult. And I remember listening to one of the interviews and my eyes kind of popped, and I thought Theranos employees could have said that exact same thing. She had built this cult-like following, and my grandfather was certainly drinking the Kool-Aid.